How you doing?
I'm doing just great. How about yourself?
I'm so excited. Yeah, I love that because the past couple conventions I've gotten to host for you and a couple of your other co-stars as well. So this is like such an honor to get to just share the stage and
We're old
hang out.
pals now.
I,
We're old pals.
I love that so much. How's your weekend been so far?
Great. I haven't gotten to see much of the city. I've been, as you know, sitting at a booth and having fun talking to new people. But I get to see what's more important about the city are the people. So I get to meet the people. So it's been a lot of fun.
And like in addition to all of the incredible people, there's so many super cool cosplays. I see so many shapes, obviously Michael Myers. What are some of your favorite cosplays that you see at conventions?
Well, there are, what's the funniest as far as Michael is concerned is seeing little kids. I don't know if you've ever seen the little kids with the entire costume on walking around. And it's maybe even spookier than the tall people.
I got to host the kids costume contest at the last one, and the person that won was a Michael Myers, and they were so committed to the bit that it was like almost like I don't know. It's crazy how much like they get it. But okay, let's say Nick that you were coming to the convention as a fan, and you could cosplay as anything. What would you cosplay as?
Michael Myers.
Okay.
I can't think of anything more. I don't know that world very much, but I just think people have such great fun putting on costumes, and especially when it's not Halloween. When it's not Halloween now, this is an excuse to get and do your thing.
And also excuses like to have these incredible reunions. Like obviously you've gotten to reunite with a lot of your Halloween cast and the Last Starfighter as well. So what is that like for you, getting to be reunited at these conventions?
Well, it's one of the great perks of doing this kind of work, if you call it work. It's a lot of fun, actually, more than anything else, is to see some old friends. Occasionally I'll see John Carpenter, although I see him for lunch sometimes in LA anyhow. And I'll see some of the other people that worked on Halloween or my movies, The Last Starfighter. I think we did it with you, no?
No, unfortunately, I think it was the Trexperts.
Oh, okay, that's right. We had this year, the movie I did back in '84, if you count the years, it's 40 years of that movie, and I got to see the co-stars of that movie again. So, these people, you work really hard for a very short amount of time, a couple months here and there, but you really bond. And then, boom, you don't see them forever. But when you do, it's like they're old friends, and it's like your high school buddies that you haven't seen for a while. It just has that familiarity to it. So it's quite a lot of fun.
So obviously you do it all, actor, director, writer. I want to know about your story writing process, and do you specifically have a process for, where does it come from?
Well, I mean, the ideas come from various places. I do everything from horror, right, to fantasy, to drama, to musicals. Right now I'm doing a historical piece on a famous strike that was in Minneapolis in 1934. So these things come from whatever passion is, running through my brain, and then, the process is slow. It's a matter of on a yellow pad coming up with ideas, then structuring the scenes, and then once I get the scenes down, I kind of go to the typewriter, and then typewriter, you know how old I am now, to the computer, and start laying it out in script form. So it's a process, but it's fun. I hadn't written maybe in 10 years about, and going back to this particular project was just quite a lot of fun, and it reminded me how much I enjoy doing that work.
And I know you also wrote the story for Hook as well. I don't think that's anything I've ever gotten to talk to you about, so can you tell us a little bit about writing Hook?
Well, Hook, for those that don't know, Hook, it stars Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman. It's about the Peter Pan story, what if Peter Pan grew up. And it was actually a movie I was going to direct at one point, and the studio put me on as the director in charge of the development of the idea. It was just an idea. James Hart wrote that idea. Came from an idea. His son, actually, I think at 9 years old at the time, asked his dad, just, what if Peter Pan grew up? What would happen? And his dad said, that's so stupid. And went off and came up with this brilliant idea, I think, for a story. So we developed it for about a year, and then various reasons I went off the project. But because of my ideas, James very graciously put me on as a co-writer of the story. So which I take responsibility for, and then Stephen took it and became what it is today. So it's a very popular film.
It's one of the, we've all seen Hook, right? I mean, like, it's one of the, it's so good. I know you mentioned John Carpenter, and you've written with him as well. So what has it been like working on a project like co-writing with somebody?
Well, yeah, John and I went to film school together. So, we actually co-wrote a screenplay that won an Academy Award, the little short subject. I was also the cameraman. He was the editor on, called The Resurrection of Bronco Billy. I think it was 1970 Academy Award for Best Short Subject. I think it was the first time a student film won an Academy Award. So that was neat. But John and I knew each other, and we would write music together because we're both inclined that way. And then after Halloween, and I think after The Fog, he needed some help on the next movie, which was Escape from New York. And he asked me to come in and help him with that one. And he had already done an original script for it right out of film school. But it was just kind of a first draft. And so he asked me to come on and come up with ideas. A lot of the humor is some of mine. Like I invented the cabbie character, if you know that movie, and the ending. But all we did was sit around his pool in Los Angeles, got comfortable, had a Diet Coke, and came up with ideas, and shot around the shit, and came up with all these ideas. And then he took all that material and then went to the computer, or the typewriter at the time. So that was my experience with John. But I've worked with other people as well. It's a very, as you can imagine, a collaborative art, and you need someone in charge, because if you come to a bottleneck, between what you like and what someone likes, someone's got to, either they have to be stronger than you, or be in in a position of power of some kind. But in any case, that's never really been an issue. It's been about, throwing ideas. It's wonderful to have, if you guys collaborate on any of your material, something to bounce off of. It's hard sometimes just to be in your own head and know what's right.
What were you guys like in school?
Well, we were big. We wanted to be filmmakers, but mainly what we wanted to be is rock and roll stars. So we didn't become. Baby. John kind of became both, because I don't know if any of you know, he does this live shows with his two sons, and they do scores. They do the scores from his movies live, and then he has a compilation of his films that they project behind them. It's quite a good show. If you ever have a chance to see that, I've seen it, and it's really wonderful.
So when did he initially approach you for this role of Michael Myers?
Well, we remember it differently. He remembers me coming into his office, just come in and say hi, because where he was going to shoot the movie was very close to where I lived, a couple blocks. So I remember going down to the set where they were planning the shoot, and asking John if I could just hang out, because he's the first one out of the gate from film school to do directing. So I thought this would be a good education for me. And he went, okay, well, as long as you're going to hang around, why don't you put the mask on and walk around? I went, okay. It was that offhanded, I think, and sometimes you just got to be lucky instead of good. And that was that particular situation.
Was it interesting or different to have him essentially directing you, since you were friends, or?
No, because, when you're in film school, you're often, have to have to recruit your friends to be in the background of a shot or something like that. So it really felt like an overblown student film to me. So even though it was a bigger camera and a larger crew and a real film, it was still something that felt very familiar.
What advice would you give to somebody that was maybe looking to go to film school or, attempt to be in the industry?
Well, I have my own experience, which I think is the one that I would recommend because I don't know everyone else's experience, but it was going to film school. I went to the University of Southern California. They had a great film department, still do. George Lucas had just graduated, of Star Wars fame. Rob Zemeckis, who I'm sure you all know, was a year after us. Then we had John and me and Dan O'Bannon, who wrote Alien, did Return of the Living Dead as a director-writer. There's a lot of talented people there, so that's where I would go. That's where I would tell young people, if you can get into a film school that has this kind of reputation and meet and stay friends with your cohorts there, you or someone else might get lucky and like John did and really get to the next level and drag you along. So that's a good way of approaching it, I think. And in the meantime, you're learning the craft, you're learning the history of film, and of course now you can do that a lot on your own because it's ubiquitous being able to get some of the classics of motion picture history, which I think is essential for any young person that wants to be a director, to know the road forward or backward for that matter of what was done and why it was done so well. So that's my advice.
Is there a classic film or maybe just a film in general that you feel like maybe flies under the radar a little bit that you think more people should study or research?
Well, I have a kind of real eclectic taste in terms of the history of film, but some of my favorite films there's a French film called Rules of the Game by Jean Renoir. And if you're a filmmaker, you have to see that. It's just an amazing film. Then there's things that I just have personal fondness for. My dad was a choreographer in movie musicals. So I love movie musicals, and I love Meet Me in St. Louis, for instance, with Judy Garland. One of my favorite comedies is The Awful Truth with Irene Dunne and Cary Grant. That genre, those 30s and 40s comedies, screwball comedies, are some of the best for understanding timing and humor and just the facility for how to make a good film. So those are three I would.
The trolley song, is that from Meet Me in St. Louis?
Yep, that's from Meet Me in St. Louis.
So good, so good.
Well, the other thing is for horror fans, you got to go back to Universal classics. See the great movies that were done, the original Frankenstein, the original Dracula, the original Wolfman. Those are all just wonderful movies, and you just can't beat the way that they were done and the beauty of the filmmaking.
Do you have a favorite Universal monster?
Frankenstein.
It's a good one. And I know that Nosferatu's coming out soon. That was a play on Dracula, right? I think so.
Yeah, well, it's a play. Yeah, Nosferatu was done by Moreau, I think, back in the early, as a part of the movie history before all that Universal stuff. So that was really where that came from. But yes, it's a vampire.
Exciting. Cool. So if it's okay with you, I did mention we already got our first victim at the microphone. What's your name? What's your question, friend?
My name's Joe.
Sorry. There you go. Oh my gosh, love it.
As a writer, director, actor, how much of the shape is you, and how much was John Carpenter's direction? Is any of that performance is that you, or is that strictly him?
No, it's a combination. It's whatever. John and I didn't really talk about or plan anything specifically. He now says that he just liked my walk, and he thought it was somehow, graceful without being, kind of maybe cat-like. So I just kind of imagined what would be kind of odd, both odd and spooky. as far as the character is concerned. But in a lot of way, it's John's creation. You know, he was in a sense a puppeteer, telling me where to go, how fast to come in, when to show up from the shadows, and he even told me when to tilt my head, things like that. So you know, a lot of that is John's work.
My name is Saj. My question for you is, what is your favorite kill as Michael Myers?
My favorite kill from Michael Myers is killing Bob in the kitchen with a knife. And I hated Bob, so, you know, he deserved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like how everyone in the audience was collectively like, yeah, yeah.
Hi, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So the newer Halloween movies, in Halloween Ends, what is your opinion? Do you think that Michael's gone?
Michael will never be gone if there's money to be made from Michael.
That's funny because I asked James also about
James
that.
Courtney.
Yeah, and I asked him if he would ever come back and do it again if they wanted to bring Michael back to life, and he's like, hell no, they'd have to pay me a lot more money.
Oh, good. I'll take the part. Then.
Right? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you were in the newer movies, yes? Wait,
Oh, yeah, I did cameos in all three of them, and just one scene here, one scene there, one little look here, and then the last one, I wasn't Michael, I was the flasher. Thank you. I don't know if you know that one, but come to my booth, you'll see a picture of it. It's very disgusting.
Hi, Nick. So,
Hi.
As you know, Halloween is a classic that has shaped horror as a genre over the years and has a lot of influence. So how do you feel, as you've played Michael Myers, how do you feel knowing that you've influenced the horror genre as a whole over the years?
That's a good question. Thank you. Well, it's surprising. It definitely was. I remember about 10 years ago when the agent that I have now for these shows called me up and said, Nick, you know, you could come to these horror conventions and meet the fans. They'd love to meet you. And I went, what are you talking about? I had no idea that there was this kind of groundswell for, you know, nostalgia, first of all, I think, and then for this particular genre, and then for Michael. You know, I knew that they'd made, by that time they'd made some figures and stuff like that, and the merchandising was going forward and things. But I had no idea, and I balked at the beginning. I said, well, the fans don't care about me. I was under a mask. They want to see the actors that really, you know, they know. And I said, no, they want to see you. And I said, okay, I'll come to one, and I've been doing them ever since. So from that standpoint, first of all, I'm amazed that this character has, you know, this kind of iconic value to a lot of people. The fact that John, this is all John, of course. John made not only one of the early slasher films, so that it started a genre, but he did it with such a creativity, and you know, he did it with such style that it, you know, it really still, I think, is the thing you shoot for. You want to not just do a copy of it, you want to do something that is as original. And that's what I think has prompted people to do their best work. So in that sense, it's been good for the genre because it's a good starting point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sean Clark has the coolest clients, from you to Spencer Charnas to
Yes.
Ozzy Osbourne now.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a cool family to have. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Gabe. I just wanted to say your movie, Halloween, was the first horror movie I fell in love with, and it's not my favorite genre because of that, and your performance was amazing. But I did have one question. When you're laying down on the ground, when Laurie's in the foreground, when you sit up, did they like hold your legs underneath, or did you actually have the core strength to lift yourself up like that?
No, yeah, I was 30, and I did work out, and I did it all by myself. I can't do that now, by the way.
Workout tips from The Shape. I love it.
Yeah, workout.
Hey.
Hey, I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, so I'm almost afraid to ask, but it's been a while since that story was probably originally posted. How is Michael Meowers? And do you have any other pets? That's all.
Oh my God. Well, for those of you who don't know, I have a black cat. And when we got him, we got him from the pound for one reason, to kill. Because we had all these mice in our, suddenly, when we lived in this house for 25 years. No, no. We didn't want to kill the cat. We wanted to kill the mice. And so we brought him home and he killed all the mice, or scared them away or something. And then my son came up with the idea, you know what we should call the cat? Michael Meowers. So he's a genius, as it turns out. And I put him on some, social media things, and so you've probably seen him. Yeah, he's still running around. He's not dead. He's a half feral cat. He kind of likes you for a while, then attacks, kind of like Michael. And I have two other pets, a 13-year-old Australian Shepherd named Mitzi, and I just got a new doodle named Trixie, because she's a real trickster, and she's still jumping on me, and I still have marks. I'll show you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brock. My question to you is, someone who's always been a big part of at least the original Halloween films for me, was the actor Donald Pleasance. Please tell a little bit of what it was like working with him and stuff.
Well, unfortunately, most of the time he was working, I wasn't on the set for that particular scene. I might have been in the background. And another thing about Donald back then, on the first film, I think, my interpretation is that he was a little standoffish. He would do his work, very nice, by the way, and then go to his trailer and relax. It wasn't like he was hobnobbing with the rest of these basically teenagers or these young people. And my idea is that he probably, he'd done fantastic, big Hollywood movies and European movies. And here he was coming to this rinky-dink little, set, $300,000 budget, and, he did it for a payday, like people do. And that was going to be it, but little did he know that's what he would be remembered for the rest of his life. Well, he's done these amazing other movies that, if you haven't seen, look him up on IMDb and start looking at some of these great movies like The Great Escape or Knife in the Water, a Polanski movie. Just a wonderful actor. But unfortunately, I don't have any good stories because we didn't really hook up that much.
It's okay, thank you.
Hey, Ghostface.
Hey.
Hello, Mikey. One question. Do you think if John or the crew didn't have the William Shatner mask made into Michael, would he still be a killer?
Would he still be a killer?
As in, would he have still been made if he didn't have that mask?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a good question because I think the mask, there's a number of things that had to all go right for that movie to be what it became. One of which is the mask, I think. Tommy Lee Wallace was one of John's friends from high school and went to film school with us as well. He's the one that discovered the Shatner mask in the toy store and then doctored it up to be what it is. Was just, just a stroke of genius, because it really is odd. And when you put it on, it doesn't matter, like we were telling, how young or how tall and stuff like that, and you stare at somebody or just stand at somebody, you get that weird feeling that it's this enigmatic character, and you read into it a lot of things. Like your Scream mask, well, he's screaming.
I just didn't put on makeup.
That's not makeup. Is doing an effect, is deciding on who he is in a way. With this, because it looks like a human being, is blank-faced, I think it's just something uniquely unnerving about it. And, they just caught lightning in a bottle with that. The other idea was doing a clown mask. This is Tommy Lee Wallace had a clown mask, an old Emmett Kelly mask. It was pretty weird, they thought, too. And they modeled that in front of Deborah and John. And then they brought in the Shatner mask, and there was no contest. There was just no contest. So when they saw it, they went, that's it, perfect.
So did you ever wear the clown mask? Or you
No,
didn't?
no, no.
Okay.
I never saw it.
Thank you, sir. I like your scary movie.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
So, my friends and I, we have a weekly movie night, and to make each other laugh, we often say, if you look closely, you can actually see Michael Myers in the background. And so, my question to you is, if you could put Michael Myers in the background of any movie or franchise as a joke, what would it be?
Oh my God, what a strange question. Let's see. Well, I'd put it probably in Barbie.
Great answer, thank you so much.
But he'd have pink hair.
Genius. Thank you.
You're welcome.
First thing that came to mind for me was Mean Girls, but that's like, Hey, Deadpool, what's your question?
Hello. Couple questions. First one's a little bit short. The first one is, have you ever met William Shatner? And if so, did he say anything to you about Halloween?
No, unfortunately I haven't. I've been at a couple of cons and I've had the urge to go up, but his line is always so crazy. It's not like you can just drop by. Then I was going to get my agent to do it at one point. It just didn't work out. Maybe I'll do it in the past. But my idea is to go up to him and say, Mr. Shatner, I worked on Halloween, and I just wanted to thank you for your face.
My second question is, not counting 3, which is the best Halloween film, in your opinion, that you have not worked on?
Oh.
And why?
That I've not worked on. I don't know. You know, they all jumble into a big ball of Halloween. You know, I guess that H2O maybe. Yeah, I like that one. And Jamie's in it. And 2 is pretty good too. I think Dick does a really good job. Dick Warlock in that one as doing Michael. So probably those 2.
Thank you very much.
Did you see, like, getting off the plane and flying here, there's the gigantic wall with William Shatner's face on it at the airport?
No, I didn't see that.
Am I wrong? There is one, right? At the Columbus airport? Yeah, okay.
What's the connection?
I have no idea. He's just on the wall. I have no idea. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Jim. Nice to meet you, Nick. So wearing both your director and actor hats right now, who is your favorite actor to direct, and who is your favorite actor to act across?
To act across?
Yeah, well, who is your favorite actor to direct, and then who is your favorite actor that you worked with as an actor?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, you know, my acting is very limited. You know, it really was to go on set in 1978 and learn how to direct, which I wound up doing. And so I didn't do much acting other than that. Other than the little cameos that I did, I worked with Rowan, who was the lead in Halloween Ends, in that little bar scene. So I guess that would be one person that I actually acted with. As far as, I had so many great relationships over the years with actors, excuse me, and really not only just close relationships with the acting, but where they're almost like another filmmaker that you rely on. And there's one especially that I remember. I did a movie called Tap, and it was about tap dancers. My dad was a tap dancer. That's where the fun of that came from. But I was with Gregory Hines for the entire pre-production, actually the forming of even the story. So we were great partners, great friends. The man died too young of cancer. He'd still be tapping today. He's just an amazing person. But then I had, beyond him, but in that role of just dealing with an actor, I loved working with Robert Preston in The Last Starfighter, and I loved working with Walter Matthau in Dennis the Menace. Those 2 stand out.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
Hey.
Hello, I'm John. When I was at your booth earlier, you mentioned that there was potentially in the works a sequel for The Last Starfighter. So I just was wondering a little bit more about where things currently stand with that.
All right, yeah. I mean, there's been rumors and actual attempts to make a sequel to The Last Starfighter now for years. Me and the original writer, Jonathan Betchwell, had a project back in the early 2000s at a studio and really almost like walking out the door ready to shoot, and it fell apart because of rights issues. John now has those rights, and as I was telling you on the booth, we're working on a screenplay right now, the story for the screenplay. As we speak, he's been sending me notes back and forth, even while I was here, of some of the ideas we have for basically a sequel, a 40-year later sequel, where Alex and Maggie have grown up and have kids, and we'll see how it goes. And it's a lot of fun to work on. So, and we know there's still a lot of love for the movie, and we think it could be a great way to celebrate the love that people have for it, to have a new one.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. There's Robert Preston right now.
Hello, greetings, Starfighter. Good to see you again. My name is Kelly. I guess just to add on to the last question and what you mentioned before, it's amazing to think that The Last Starfighter is 40 years old now. Could you talk about any particular standout memories you have of working on that film, or particularly working with Robert Preston and what became his last film role?
Well, first of all, for those that, most of you are horror fans, so The Last Starfighter was a science fiction picture that was about a boy who played a video game, and he didn't realize it, but it was actually a recruitment tool to get people up to a space war. And that's what happened. And the recruiter was a guy named Centauri. He drove a really crazy car. He was dressed just like this lovely woman. And it was played by Robert Preston, who was thought of, we thought of him for the role because he had been an actor in one of the great musicals, The Music Man. And both on Broadway and on film. If you haven't never seen it, it's fantastic. And his character in that was a flim-flam man, someone that's a fast talker, trying to get you to do whatever he wants you to do. And that's exactly what this character was written by. And then one day, Jonathan Betchwell came up to me while we were casting, before we had Robert, and said, "What do you think of this, Nick? The Music Man in Outer Space." And I went, "Genius." This was just, when people come up with the best kind of casting, it's just like makes a character, makes a movie. And that's the memory I have of that with Jonathan, was the idea that he came up with that. And that's why this is such a collaborative art. You always listen to the folks next to you because they may come up with the best idea. Working with him was easy. At one point I remember saying to him, because it was a lot of fast talking and stuff like that, and I loved that. And one of the takes, I guess it wasn't as much, I went, "Robert, would you do even more?" And he went, "No one's ever asked me for that," because he was always such a big, you could always eat the scenery, with his acting skills. And so that's something I remember.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left.
Got one more question for you.
Sure.
What did you think of the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween?
I saw them both. I finally saw the second one, I think only about a year ago, which was like a fever dream. I don't think that's the right way to go for what my tastes are like, but I thought he did a good job. He's a good filmmaker, and he has his own taste and his own. In fact, what I liked about that is that I like giving this franchise to 20 different directors and tell me what you're going to do with that character. That would be fun to do. In fact, if they ever did a Halloween TV series like they're thinking of doing, I would almost do that. Give it to great filmmakers. You do, your introduction to Michael, or you do a character or a scene from Michael, or a little mini story. Because it tells you about the character, but it also tells you about the filmmaker, what their interests are. And so I kind of liked it in that sense.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Kat.
Hey, Kat.
As an actor, writer, director, and so much more, do you have a preference from what you like doing more, whether it's acting or directing or writing?
Well, let's see. I would have said back in the days of me directing, because it's a very difficult job. It's not just physically, but mentally. But now it's more physical for me. At 77 years old, staying up till 3 in the morning, on night shoots at 4 o'clock in the morning, those 14, 16-hour days, that's a lot to put on an older guy. I have no idea how Clint Eastwood does this at 92 or whatever he is. He was always strong to begin with, but maybe that was it. But writing writing to me now is the most fun because it's, I got back into it just because I missed it, and the idea that you wake up in the morning and you have a whole day of fantasizing ahead of you, and working out problems, it's like kind of like a jigsaw puzzle too sometimes. So it's quite entertaining for us old folk. So I think I'd go with that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, I'm Tom.
Hey, Tom.
I'm curious as to what Nick Castle's Hook versus Spielberg's Hook would have looked like. Would it have been a musical still? What was the casting like? I don't know how much you can talk about your process of it, but what would your ultimate in Hook look like?
Well, Hook really wasn't a musical, and mine wouldn't have been a musical. It wasn't planned as such. I was surprised, frankly, at the way Steven took it and made it more in-studio look. Everything felt like it was enclosed, kind of like Wizard of Oz, which was fantastic that way. And I have a feeling, I've never talked to him about it, that that's the way he was looking at it, that the whole edifice of the thing was kind of theatrical. Mine was going to be more realistic. What I thought the clever part about Jim's idea was that here's a real guy that didn't know he was a fantasy character, but it was never a fantasy. It was real. It was a real magical character in life, 20, 30 years ago, and now he's a guy that lives, with his wife and has kids, and he finds out this mystery. So to me, the idea of reality was a clue as to how to play it. So I would have gone to to some great Hawaiian island and shot it, with that kind of backdrop where it would feel real. I also think the difference, at the time, for you who know this actor, I think as a swashbuckling Hook, I had Kevin Kline as the lead. And Kevin Kline as the lead was a handsome, virile kind of guy. I didn't ever see Dustin as that role, even though I actually, during the course of the early pre-production of that, went out to Dustin and Robin before I left the movie and asked them if they wanted to do it. What it was, at that point it became political because who wanted to play Captain Hook at the agency that we went to, and everyone said, Dustin Hoffman has always wanted to play Hook. So we went in that direction so that that we would get a yes when we went out to people, because it wasn't a foregone conclusion that this was going to be made until you got the right elements together. So when Steven got on board, of course, everyone wanted to do it. So that helped. Like, who was Tinkerbell? Julia Roberts. You don't get those people doing those kind of roles unless you're Steven. So, that's the difference. I think it would have been set in a more real fantasy, real/fantasy world.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
All right, let's see. We have time for maybe one more question, or I saw maybe there was 2 more people that wanted to ask. Yeah, if you guys both want to, yeah.
Still Joe. I've seen Beetlejuice the musical and Evil Dead the musical. Would you ever think of like a Welcome to Haddonfield musical or something?
What?
Michael Myers musical.
Haddonfield musical.
Yeah. And what is your favorite musical? You've mentioned musicals several times.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned one of my favorite movies was a musical, and it's one of my favorite musicals is Meet Me in St. Louis with Judy Garland. As far as that didn't have a lot of dance in it, and I do love great dance, and I love the original West Side Story for the fantastic dance and such a well-conceived musical adaptation of Shakespeare. And as far as doing a musical version of Haddonfield, I'd love to see that one. I would love to see that one. There actually was, for instance, for the fans of The Last Starfighter, someone actually did a musical that was off Broadway back 6 or 7 years ago called The Last Starfighter. And me and Jonathan, the guy that wrote the original picture, went back there, just hilarious. So it can be done, these things can be done well, these things can be done as a gimmick. And both of them are kind of fun to see. Again, a good filmmaker will entice you to get on board their vision. So we'll see.
Well, with Wicked coming out,
Yeah.
what about Broadway musicals? Do you have a favorite? And thank you.
Well, yeah, I would go back again to West Side Story. It's still one of the most amazing, and it was, especially at the time, just revolutionary in terms of the dance and the storyline. So I'd still stick with that.
All right, our final question. What's your name?
I'm Saj again. Lastly, how does it feel to be a horror icon?
It's very odd to be a horror icon. I don't think of myself quite like that. I guess I was sitting with my wife in Manchester, where they have a great horror con, by the way. For the Love of Horror, it's called. I don't know if anyone's from Europe here, but it's a great one. And I was sitting at the breakfast table near where we were staying at the hotel, and with my wife, and we were eating. And two people came up and just did this and went, "Legend." And my wife looks at me and goes, "Legend." So she does that all the time. So now I know I'm a legend because my wife has to do it when we wake up in the morning. But thank you. Yeah, it's been a great fun to do, and I really appreciate you guys for coming by and saying hi. And it's so much fun to meet fans, by the way, that because directors, actors, we don't get to meet people. You know, we put our movies out. We're not in a play, for instance, where you can see them. And it's only in these kind of shows that you get to meet people and see how, that they appreciate what you did all your life. So it's quite fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
So if it's okay with you, we're going to take a big group picture with everybody. If we have a photographer on hand, do we have one? Yes, we do. If you guys want to come up to the stage, just not on the stage, and we can take a big group selfie.